will entail. What we're looking for from the PSU students in January, we're going to engage our go through this process as a competition, and our idea is to solicit fresh minds and unique perspectives with your feedback that we received some of last week, stating your values and whatnot with regards to what the design will look like. We'll engage the students to come up with a toolkit of design ideas that then we will distill and integrate into the project. And it should be about a 3-week process where we get them out here, we familiarize them with the site, with your values. We stage the competition, which will be a one-day open design charrette, and I've been encouraged to invite everybody here. It's a standing invitation. I think the students will get better results the more feedback we get, and they're very open to that and actually encourage it. And I think it's and we'll let you know more about that as the time comes. But it'll probably be a one-day design charrette held down at Portland State University in the architecture school, and we'll set up times where I think you can come down, take a look at what they're working on, and give your feedback. And I think more importantly is your knowledge of the physical characteristics of the site as well as the values that you have. So that's in essence kind of a recap of the design competition. Again, our job will be to distill the ideas. There won't be one design idea that will be taken and moved forward. What we want to come up with is design elements that we can integrate into the final design for the project. And the schedule, as you see here, I think the design charrette on January 19th is going to be the prime, the big design part of this, and that's the one we would encourage and get you more information on. We encourage your attendance at that. Concept presentations will be presented on January 29th to the community, and in order to give the students some incentive, we've created this competition, and there will be a cash award for the winning prize. What we're going to do is we'll have presentations at the January 29th meeting, and a final design, preferred design will be selected by a People's Choice ballot. And so we'll have ballots there that people who attend that presentation will get to choose which one they like. And again, not every element of that particular design will move forward, but elements of all the designs potentially can move forward into the final design, which you'll see again in March. There'll be a summary on February 4th of the proposed concepts to this meeting, to this group here, and then the Urban Renewal Committee meeting will present the final award to the winning team, as it were. But I'd like to take this opportunity, and I think Casey will probably recap the values we heard last time. And I'd like to, since some of you weren't here last time, you could take a look at this. I think you've probably seen these, and it's an opportunity to keep adding to this list. If you see things that don't represent what your ideas are, we'd encourage you, please, to provide feedback.
Yeah, these came from the meeting we had in November, and so some of you who weren't there. And essentially, just to recap, maintaining the historic character of the city, and that whatever happens with this area should be kind of a gateway that announced your entrance to Oregon City. The design should support future economic development, accessibility for all travel modes, making sure it's sustainable and that the improvements are built to last, incorporating natural elements as much as possible, consistency and cohesiveness in design. Safety, of course, is probably a primary value. We want to make sure people are safe in all modes going through this area. Providing connections to other regional systems, and that was something that Alita showed you, all the bike system, that we want to make sure that this ties in. Slowing down traffic while maintaining flow, and good lighting and visibility, especially at night. These are some of the ideas that came out. And for those of you who weren't here, are there additional values you would like us to make note of? Because what will happen is this list, as well as project constraints, which we're going to talk about in a moment, also will be given to the PSU students so they kind of know what constraints they have to work under, and then also what their work needs to reflect as far as community values. So I'd love to open it up to you, especially those of you who were not here or those who were here and had some additional ideas they'd like to add.
I don't see it specifically on here, but I read in the notes that greenery was and landscaping was part of the goal as well.
Yes, I think there's something about natural elements. But
Is that-
just
okay.
Put, landscaping green. Okay.
Okay, I see. Incorporate natural elements.
Okay.
Okay.
And how this will be presented, prior to the design competition, there'll be a design brief written, and all this will be included in that. And so when the students see that, as well as come and visit the site, they'll have some pretty well-defined parameters, and then they'll be designing not only to the physical constraints and ideas, but also to your values, so keeping those kind of at the top of mind.
I note that the point here of slowing down traffic to maintain flow through the area concerns me a little bit. I know that we have the traffic, the speed set at, let's say, 30 miles an hour as you go through the prime part of Oregon City on McLaughlin. What are we doing in addition to that?
The posted, just to clarify, the posted speed is 40 miles per hour in that section of McLaughlin Boulevard.
It's 40. Okay, I thought it was slower.
Down by the bridge, I think it's 30, the Arch Bridge.
And some
Down
of
by the Arch Bridge.
Yeah, some of the
Yeah,
elements.
south of the I-205 interchange, it's posted 30 miles per hour.
Maybe one way to slow down traffic, it might be better represented by traffic calming elements, like the center median and the planting and the street trees, and there are a couple of just engineered design elements that will come into play to slow the traffic and to calm it.
I'll go over some of those in a minute.
Other suggestions?
I just like to reiterate with that. I have a business downtown, and traffic's been tough from the tunnel. It's more of an ODOT probably thing as well, city rather than a specific project, because our end bound by the tunnel's already been done. But to maintain a more of a NATO Parkway speed, where traffic is slowed down to 30, perhaps the entire way, that's better for commerce. It's better for safety. Because we still have the problems with a 25-mile-an-hour posting where traffic certainly is faster than that going through the tunnel.
Yeah.
We kind of have an expressway through town, and it's not conducive to commerce really. And then I guess one other comment, I think I love the maintain historical character of the city, but maybe also recapture some historical, because so much of it has been lost in the 50s and 60s that there's not much left there to maintain, really.
I was just thinking in some cities, 50s and 60s is history. Okay, others?
I just wanted to piggyback on that. That's a really neat idea. I brought up last time the consistency with the previous project was important to me, but seeing the old lighting come back to the Arch Bridge, for me, not growing up in those older generations, was really neat because it reminds me of that, and so I think that's a great thing.
Ma'am, were you going to say something, ma'am?
Something attractive and tasteful.
Attractive and tasteful.
That's a good interpretation, isn't it?
Is there any weighting that's going to go on value? How are we going to weight these values?
For the students, we weren't planning on weighting them.
So each one is going to have the same value so if I'm getting to, I'll say, regional bike and pedestrian systems, it has the same value as to something that might be economic development oriented.
We wanted to give them a pool of values, and again, they're doing concept work, and so it's supposed to just generate some creativity in them, and we didn't want to make this too structured, and I know that probably different people have different weightings for these things, but if we went through a weighting exercise, it might things may be removed that really do have a place, and so we wanted to leave that to their interpretation. Would that be right, Gil?
Yeah, and these elements are things that they will keep in mind. They're not designing to a specific idea or an element. I think that all of these will manifest themselves in the final ideas. You'll see a lot of these types of values come out in their final designs.
Okay, we want to move on because we've got a lot to go through. I believe, Scott, you're up next. Scott's going
Constraints? I could just say project constraints.
Okay, well, we'll need to operate this for you.
Okay. I can just say next.
Just come up. They won't buy it, don't worry. Unless you want.
All right, so we do have a few project constraints, as we always do. One of our first criteria for this project is we were not to impact or take any right-of-way. We may end up with a couple construction easements to build the project, but the intent is to not purchase any new right-of-way. So we'll work within the confines of ODOT right-of-way and the city right-of-way. Some of our kind of threading the needle through this project, we have two bridges that we are not widening or adjusting in any way. We basically have a set roadway width that we have constrained by these two bridges. So widening the roadway is kind of out because we'd have to kind of taper it back down and then taper it back out again. A couple of other things that we have are just grades on this project. As you all know, as you come into this, come into the city, it's basically like a landing road with the slopes dropping off quickly to each side. And the primary reason for that is the 100-year floodplain is about the curb height. So any work that we do outside of that area, we have to mitigate for. So if we widen the project out and we fill in that 100-year floodplain, we have to excavate somewhere else to kind of balance that so we don't make the Willamette River rise during that 100-year. And let's see, a couple of pinch points that we have. We've got the message sign, the ODOT message sign that we're working around, and just the overall equipment that's out there, the signals, and some of the right-of-way constraints at McDonald's that we have that seems to be our closest right-of-way to this project. But we've put together, laid some lines out right now and put together a good preliminary design that kind of fits within this roadway area. We're looking forward to developing the ideas, and I'll kind of go through and explain some of the standards that we have to follow. Traffic calming came up, and one of the ways that we do it without actually reducing the posted speed limit is narrowing the lanes, which we have. ODOT's been on board, and trucking has been on board as well. We're going to reduce the lanes to 11 foot, similar to what we did on the first phase. Shy distances, usually at this speed, we're required to put 2 feet in. The shy distance is just that distance from the curb to the lane line. It gives a driver a little more comfort. Take away that comfort, and the driver tends to naturally slow down. Street trees, that's probably going to be our toughest sell with ODOT. They are an obstruction that if a car hits, the tree usually doesn't yield. So, but it is one of the #1 traffic calming measures. It creates a kind of an enclosed tunneling effect while beautifying the area, but it causes the driver to slow down again because of just that sense of things that are around them. A couple of the other elements that we'll be adding in there is the bull noses. We're going to look at that. Typically not in an ODOT standard, but it does have its purpose. We have that on the first phase. Kind of gives that pedestrian a little refuge there to feel a little safer. It gives the cars, it's more of a target, but the car would hit that before they'd hit a pedestrian. So it's just one extra sense of safety for the pedestrian to cross. And then, of course, the bus stops. We have been in contact with TriMet. we've been looking at just their facilities, seeing if there's any other places that it could be moved to, or a little bit down the road, or if there's any better function for it to better serve the community and create a safer mode of transportation for all. We've got a couple design concepts tonight. The project prospectus is what this project was funded by. So it's just the package that was submitted to ODOT for their approval, and securing the funds for this. It by no means is the be-all, end-all design for this project. As a matter of fact, in a minute here, you'll see the proposed design that we've come up with that we would like to move forward with pending ODOT approval. I know it's kind of small and the color's probably not the best, but I'm going to have you take a look. Basically, the project goes from the Clackamas River Bridge to Dunes Drive. Can you go back on this if you? Okay, I want to scroll forward and back again. Okay, so this is the section that was in the prospectus. You'll see the 11-foot lanes. We have a narrower median. It's planted with trees in all the medians, similar to that Phase 1. The big thing to point out here is the bike lane on the road. We've increased it from a 5 to a 6 foot, just for a little bit extra safety here and here on both sides. And then we have the wider 10-foot sidewalks on both sides. And that is pretty much the section throughout the entire project there. I'm going to point out some of the design elements that we have on here. And these elements basically will be within the project. What their final look is has not even close to being determined. But you'll notice a couple areas here. One, if you look behind you on the pointer, there's this kind of hatched area there, and there's also one over here. These are going to be facilities for water quality. Part of this project is taking the water that's on McLaughlin Boulevard, rerouting it into these water quality facilities and treating them before they're discharged into the river, rather than what they do right now, which is collect and go straight into the Willamette River through various means. There's an outfall here and an outfall here, as you all know. And a lot of the water isn't treated. It just goes straight out. And the big part of also over here where the water just kind of dumps off the bridge. One kind of area that the architects are going to look at is here. We kind of got this big kind of hatched area. I'll call it a plaza for lack of any imagination, but that could be a plaza area that will be, open for discussion with the architects and what could go in there. Just a wider area there. I think it's a great place for it. We've got buses and bikes and peds all kind of coming together on that corner. We're looking to widen that area there. But there, again, there's elements I'm hoping that the students touch on. There's an element here. And they can, work in that one corner there. Maybe create a safer area to stand by, or just something that's nicer to look at. And then one of the things I want to point out is we're looking for some pedestrian connectivity. We've looked at, it's just the design team looking at different elements to see if grades work, see if we, if people come up with ideas. We're trying to kind of look around the project and see what we can incorporate into the design. One of them would be just a pedestrian walkway down from the roadway and then possibly down into the waterfront there. That's about it for this. I'm going to move on to the next concept, which is our proposed. Let me go back to pros and cons real quick. Really, the two pros for the bike lane on the road is gives a little more room for the water just to build up during a rain event, so it gives it more spread before it collects into the inlets, basically creating a area where the cars won't hydroplane. It just gives it a larger collection area before it dumps into the inlets. Another advantage is it keeps them further away from those street trees. ODOT has a general guideline that says that the curb face should be 6 feet from the trees. That bike lane creates an additional 6-foot buffer, helping with their clear zone rules. Some of the cons is it keeps the bikes on the road. As you saw in the picture and as we've talked to different people, The bikes stay on the sidewalk in this location for several reasons. A large part of it is just a high-speed moving corridor with lots of signs overhead, and they're not paying attention to necessarily everyone on the road other than just where they're going. Increased cost is a con, and a lot of these are going to be pros in the other option we have here, but increased cost, and the main reason is we have a larger roadway section for cars to travel on. And then just overall, it's the safety aspects of having the bikes right next to the trucks and getting on and off of this bike lane. The bikes are guided onto the bridge, so there is a ramp on both sides. It kind of aims the bikes right perpendicular to the roadway, so they have to maneuver somewhat not in a safe fashion and then get into that bike lane. So the bikes are on and off of the sidewalk at that bridge, and we're trying to make, in our option, kind of a safer mode of transportation. In our concept B, which we're calling the separated bike lane concept, at this scale, it's hard to see. I'll go straight to the section. Everything pretty much remains the same, with the exception of the outside lane. The 6-foot bike lane goes away, and that outside lane goes from a 12-foot to a 13-foot. Essentially, it's an 11-foot lane with a 2-foot buffer. It's exactly what we have on the Phase 1. As you go through those barriers there, you'll see the 11-foot lanes with the 2-foot stripe right next to the barrier. We've got the street trees in this, and the main change is, again, pulling that bike lane off and giving it its own bike lane. So you can see here we've got an area for bikes and for bikes here and the sidewalk. The idea is to stripe that as a bike lane so it keeps the pedestrians off, theoretically. But essentially it gives the overall use of all the pedestrians a 14-foot area away from traffic. And one, the pedestrians and cyclists don't have to worry about the cars, and two, the cars don't have to worry about them. This is a corridor for them to move. I like the idea of this as well, just because the 13-foot lane, again, gives that traffic calming measure. If you've got that extra 6 feet, whether it's a bike lane or not, it's, as a driver, you've got a nice big 18-foot lane to speed through there. With the 13-foot, the trees, it really closes that roadway in and slows you down. Go through some of the pros. Again, this is really just flipping the pros and cons from the last one. The pros for this is basically safety. It's pulling those bikes away from the motor vehiclists as they're traveling through, looking at the signs. They're trying to figure out where to go. They're moving quickly. This, again, one of the biggest challenges on this project and the biggest difference from our first phase is the speed limit. We had 25 and 30 mile an hour speed limits in the first round. This was a special transportation area. This section of roadway is not. It's a 40 mile an hour, and there is nothing, no special safety requirements on the books. So we are trying to produce a roadway section that creates a safe mode of passage for everyone, while we will have to be writing several design exceptions through ODOT to create that. It's going to be a tough process, but I think that it is well worth it, and I think that it creates, it'll be a safe road not only for the pedestrians and the bicyclists, but also for the cars. We don't want to take away from the capacity of the roadway. We don't want to take away from the maneuverability. Basically, we want to maintain the same traffic, volumes, but in a safer manner. Again, part of the decreased cost is we get a narrower roadway width, and it's much cheaper to build a bike path than it is a roadway section. Bicycle lane on a roadway requires a full depth section, which is a bit more expensive.
Okay, what I'd like to do, we're doing pretty good on time. We caught up. But I want to give the committee plenty of time to ask for clarifications, and then also any comments you have about the two roadway designs, or in particular any elements where you're going to want more information. That will help us when we come back in February to make sure that we get you the information you need to make some recommendations. So if we can start, why don't we start with Fred? Can we start with you?
Are we, we're talking about which design we like best? Is that what we're?
Any comments you have, or if you need any clarification?
I'd love to
from-
hear your opinion on the two different concepts. Sure.
Well, I definitely like the bikes separated from the traffic the best.
Is there anyone that doesn't? I guess I'll throw that out there because I'd like it on tape.
I would
So I can
strongly
send that
suggest
direct.
B.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is there anyone that would like A besides Oda? No.
So let me put it this way. How many
This thing
people
working?
don't care one way or the other? Either one would do.
Well, we wouldn't be here if we didn't care.
But, okay, how about thumbs up on A this way, which is neutral, or down on A?
Well, I'm abstaining.
Boy, the Lions and the Christians are in trouble here. Okay, on B.
Wait a minute.
Oh, wait a minute. Did you have a?
But I can't make an answer right now. Historically, nationally, what's being done more? Not in other regions. Which way is this?
Almost 100% of Oregon ODOT state facilities, it's bike lane on the road. However, the national trend is moving away from that. They are definitely pulling the bike lanes off of the road and giving them either their own path or their own bike lane.
And Scott, if I can just
Yeah,
add to that, I'm Anthony Butzek. I'm the transportation engineer for Metro. Been heavily involved in our efforts to look for ways to more safely accommodate the different modes across the region. And one of our, in fact, the only recommendation for bicycle facilities in the region, coming from our regional transportation safety plan, which was looking at actual crashes and where people are being killed and severely injured in the region, was that on these high-volume, high-speed roadways around the region, we look to do something better than just a standard painted bike lane. We have a number of different options depending on the conditions. It could be, in this case, a separated bike path, a parallel low-traffic route, something better than the bike lane. Because we know that those types of facilities are safer than an on-street bike lane in this case. So primarily for safety, but also for some other reasons, we'd strongly encourage to do something better than a bike lane in this case. And this is an alternative that we think is a good alternative for this project.
One of the things that we were looking at in keeping with continuity of the difference in surrounding areas, the bikes going across the bridge are on the sidewalk. They have to get off the sidewalk and go into the bike lane, which is an unsafe maneuver because you're running perpendicular for a moment into the traffic. So it can be a surprise to the motorist that's not paying attention. All of a sudden, a bike comes into their view, whereas normally it wouldn't. The proposed design keeps it well away, and it gives them their own bike lane. One of the reasons for keeping it through this whole corridor is the bikes are actually routed and down here and onto the bike path, so to speak, for the city. It's not an advised movement to continue through the I-205 because that, as you all know, that large shoulder goes down to about 2 feet at the end of that and will be a surprise for that bicyclist when he gets down there.
One thing you might want to mention is Phase 1 kept them off, so
Yeah,
to keep consistent with phases, that's another...
We're just trying to keep with this area of bike traffic, and the bikes are on the sidewalks. It is not a safe place to be getting on and off bicycle facilities when they're on the road. Keeping them on their own bike path or bike lane at the connection of the bridge is just another advantage for this.
I think the motorists would prefer if the bikes were nowhere around too.
The trucking industry,
Yeah.
especially with their mirrors and larger loads.
The bike lane, it looks as if the bike lane is, even though it's separated from the asphalt of the street, it's an asphalt bike lane with a concrete path, or would it all be concrete?
So, Anthony actually brought that, or was it? No, it was Joe Merritt, actually, one of the county. We'll probably look at same material. The reason is differential settlement and shrinkage and cracking and maintenance. So, but it could be colorized, it could be textured. Alita's mentioned that on our first phase, they kind of sandblasted the pavement a little bit. It gives it a different texture. Maybe the pedestrians could walk on that, and the bicyclists would have a different texture. And plus, there will be maybe not a stripe going down there, but there will be bike symbols throughout the whole thing, similar to what you see on boardwalks. So just let you know where the peds should be walking and where the bicyclists should be going. But no, I think from what I've been hearing, asphalt may be out of it just because of the crack that it's going to develop in parallel, will create an unsafe gap in the future.
Okay, Larry, do you have any
No, I think
comments?
you guys have done a great job. So I paid attention and everything's
Sean?
My only real comment was based on that concept B. It's very important to get the bikes off the roadway. One question, and I'm not sure if it's out of scope, but as I've talked to several people, they've asked me in this meeting, are you going to look at southbound queuing onto I-205 South? During high traffic times, that queues back all the way to the bridge, and they were wondering, is anything going to be addressed in that, or is this really just beautification? So, I didn't know the
We
answer.
are not addressing traffic having to do with the intersection
Okay.
at this time. We are doing a traffic study. I haven't seen those results yet, but the main purpose of that traffic study is just to make sure that whatever we do doesn't make it worse. We're looking at the right-hand turn movements onto Dunes Drive. But as far as roadway improvements, it's not in the scope of work, and no intersection improvements. However, ODOT has a list of projects that in the future for them to do dual lefts. I mean, they're aware of the queuing issues, and it is not part of this project, though.
The students will give them something to look at while they're sitting.
Alice?
What are some of the challenges in getting ODOT to accept Plan B? I would assume
The reason is
that
it is their design standard.
And speed is an element of that too. We don't have any control over the speed in that section.
Speed is an element. I believe the traffic reduction has come up before ODOT, and I don't know that it is an option to reduce the speed in this corridor.
Yeah, we actually had a traffic study done to look at reducing the posted speed limit from 40 to 35 miles per hour.
Or even 30 to match the rest of it?
Yeah, but through that traffic study and report, it was an initial report that was done showing that at this point in time there weren't enough changes to slow the traffic down. So with those traffic investigations, you have to go with the speed limit that in the 85th percentile of the travelers there, and that is still in that 40 mile per hour.
And I know it's pointless to argue that because that's an ODOT rule, but I know that in the 30 zone that Paul referenced earlier, most drivers think that's 40. So I'm extrapolating from that in the 40 zone. I'm assuming people are going 50 or close to it.
Yes.
So it seems like that should be addressed somehow, however the argument needs to be made.
And that is part of the traffic calming features. Once those are put into place, they do slow down the traffic, and that is part of the design.
Yeah. As a pleasure biker, I know that if the traffic is going really fast, I don't use the bike lane. So to have it there would be meaningless for me. I would go where it was safe, which might be the sidewalk where the pedestrians are, which isn't really the safest option.
So ODOT has a full package that we put together, and it gives all of the pros and cons. It shows the backing from various agencies. They are going to have a meeting, I think, coming up here mid-December to decide which option to move forward with. I don't think it'll be as simple as that. I mean, we're going to, our proposed design, which is in front here on this option B, is the one we'll probably move forward with for now, and I think we'll just have to work with ODOT as we did on the first phase. I don't think it's going to be a clear-cut, no, you can't, or this is the option and this is the option you can't. We're going to have to work with them on, if we do get the bike lane separated, then there's going to be the issue of trees. If we do get the bike lane on, we'll have the transition points. So I think that there's a good chance we'll move forward with that option B. We just need the kind of green light from ODOT, or just a yellow one is all I'd be looking for, and then I'm a go. Orange. Yeah, orange. So, but I think we'll be okay. We've definitely presented a good case And then what I wanted to get was just feedback, and hoping that you would support that, and obviously you do.
Paul. Hi. Not that I ever have an opinion.
I wouldn't think so.
I'd like to start, as an urban renewal commissioner, I'm very concerned about these two lots north of McDonald's. About not only our ability, we have them for sale right now. We potentially envision those lots of having 400,000 square feet of office building right there with parking coming in underneath. And one of the things we want to make sure that there is nothing done that is contra or inhibits that property from having reaching full potential of development. So we looked at having some ability to have parking, actually off-street parking, when you come as you come across the bridge that goes over Main Street or Clackamas River Drive, and I'm looking northbound right along through there, creating some type of parking like we have on Main Street down below. So we see this as somebody coming there, pulling a car off, and being able to have access to get out of their car and then walk right into the first floor of the building that would be right there with parking underneath. As I move down towards McDonald's, where the bus stop is right now, why couldn't we position the bus stop really over by the Rivershore Hotel through that? When you're driving through there, what you see all the time is people slowing up, or you see a lot of congestion, a lot of people trying to figure out what to do when the bus is right in that area, and it really creates a lot of problems because right here we have this queuing up of vehicles to try to get onto the bridge. And I'm very concerned that we eliminate any obstructions or problems that I'm trying to get into these two right-hand lanes that shoot me by all of the lanes that are queuing up for the bridge or going the other direction. And so it's important that the way when you're coming northbound off of the bridge, you come through here just as you get close to Dunes Drive, there's not really a turn lane to get to Dunes Drive until just at the last moment. And I would, with as much right-of-way we have in there, I think we could improve that. And what I'm trying to do is just improve safety, allow vehicles to flow more freely through there, and then put the bus stop across on the other side. This property that's north of McDonald's, again, city-owned property, and we have an important access to the McDonald's. But this is, again, developable property with high visibility. And there is real potential that something could go there. And yet I know part of that property, it's squared off, is actually city right-of-way. I was always hoping that we might be able to vacate what you don't need and bring it in to make us have more developable lot that has the potential. We need jobs. We need people in Oregon City that are paying payroll. And these are very, very prime locations for that. So we need to make sure that anything that we do complements our ability to take these very important properties, both north and south of McDonald's, and make them work. You show the sidewalk coming through there, for me as a urban renewal commissioner coming down through, I think that's a no-go. It has negative effects on the development of that property. It comes through city property right there. I would prefer to see that gone without any question about it, and then worry more about creating the connections that go all the way down to Dunes Drive and coming down. What little is saved in trying to get a little speed or somebody cutting down through there, it doesn't. It just doesn't bring enough value to the table. Now, at the right where you come at the north, where we have the come across Main Street and Clackamas River Drive, where it comes through the little bridge which we cut around, and you can cut back and forth. We need staircases coming down or something coming down on one or the other side, right off of there, so that people can come down, walk down and get into Clackamas Park, or come down through here. So we don't need any ramps or anything like. Just bring some staircases down, so that we can, then people can circle around and go to the go east underneath the overpass. But we need to figure out something there in that area. I'm concerned that the overall, I'd rather see the speed limit drop to 30 miles an hour as early as we can, because the amount of turbulence that's in this site, with the light here, with everybody jockeying for lanes, if this is an area that really has greater need to have a slower speed than even through the core area, is just because of this massive amount of jockeying that's going on with all these vehicles going through there. And I would love to get the vehicle counts through there, but as I see it, it's probably very close to D going to F on level of service in critical peak periods. It may not be, but it sure looks like it to me. And anything that we do that makes it worse through there, and that's the reason why I'm concerned about shrinking, getting it too narrow, or somewhere along the line. I'm queuing up traffic from the bridge, and it's going all the way to almost from the bridge to get onto the Abernathy Bridge to all the way back to the Clackamas River Bridge. Sometimes it's terrible, and we've got to be cognizant of how we can get people through there safely. And I think that some of the things we do here has got to have a higher weighting going on safety, and to making sure that we don't create more turbulence and more unsafe conditions just because people are so damn frustrated trying to get through there.
I'd like to address all those that you just said right now. So let's start with the buses, and I'll try to stick, to what this project can do. So part of the, looking at this project is we did look at the bus stops with TriMet Metro and the design team and the city. One of the things we look at is not only the location, which is there and there, but the amount of people that are getting on and getting off. Primarily, it looks like the majority of the people are getting off to go to work, and they get on to go home. There is, a dominant amount of people here getting off. One of the things that we did look at is we looked at possibly moving the bus stop over here. With the TriMet standards, they've got to queue up at least 2 buses. Puts the bus stop probably around here so that the buses don't queue up and the cars behind them don't queue up. So one of the reasons for not necessarily moving it across the road there is the bus pulling off. Even though it is a wide 10-foot lane, it's not, or a 9-foot lane, it is not TriMet standard. A car might not feel comfortable enough to go around it, and it could hold up traffic.
But that particular side over
Right.
there has that free extra pavement going out of it, so that when I take off out of there, I can take straight off without any disturbing the flow of traffic through there.
So one of the things we looked at by moving the bus stop this far is, one is it puts it closer to the intersection, or the interchange that is, a crazy place to be. It's also, lighting would have to be improved significantly down here for safety. Again, the grade drops off significantly here, so it would be a substantial amount of retaining walls and earthwork to get the flat bus drop-off zone, because as soon as we put in a new stop, we have to meet TriMet standards, which is a large. I don't think a shelter is required here, but it'd be a 10-foot zone that's 2% or less. And also, the majority of these people are going to work here, so we would be having either people cross back to McDonald's or cross on the busy side of, I'd like to call this the unsafe side, because a lot of the cars are coming out. You can see they're queued up to make this left. They're really going to be, if we put the bus stop over here, we're really creating a concentration of peds and cars, which to me is an unsafe movement. They have to go across here and then cross, because the new improvement has a sidewalk over here. So if we keep the bus stop on this side, majority of the people are going to work. They stay on this crosswalk. They go up and then straight to their, jobs, as we were guessing they do, based on the volumes of people. You can also see that there is quite a goat path here. People going down to McDonald's and potentially down to the waterfront here. So we are looking at that with TriMet. TriMet is weighing in on their operations, their preferences. We will be addressing that as we move forward for our DAP, which is kind of giving the justifications for doing something and for not doing something. So we are looking at that, Paul. The next thing I'd like to answer is just the development of these two properties and this property as well. Knowing that they are developable properties, we are doing our best to stay off of them. Providing a safe passage for all the modes, also creating the connections that are desired or needed out there while minimizing impacts to properties, specifically city property. The reason we looked at this here, a path here as opposed to a path down here, was one, just because of the grades. The second one was also development. When these three properties develop, they'll be brought up to the roadway height. Building code requires them to be above 100-year floodplain, which is at the roadway. So they'll be, all this will be filled in, and the properties will be brought up similar to.
We were envisioning parking underneath them.
Sure, you can park in the floodplain,
Yeah.
but just not
Yeah.
a business. So we created this connection here. Part of the reason for connection is you can see the goat path here, and just watching people, they take their bikes or they walk down to this mobile home or the RV section here, and then also the park. So a lot of foot traffic moves in and out of here. So we thought that creating this safe passage here, the reason we had the connection down here as well, this is a proposed staircase. I don't know if it's going to be accepted or not yet, but we've got an opening there in the guardrail, and it just kind of rocks stairs. I don't know what the element's going to be, but to create a faster, a quick area to kind of walk onto the path there.
Scott, I think too, activating pedestrian activation of that side of the building, I think, opens up a lot more uses as well along that side.
Whatever a developer would like to do somewhere, I'd like to leave that up to the developer to make their own choices of what fits their design criteria. But
And another reason for kind of pulling a lot of the peds and the bikes, once they get into here, they can go onto the bike lane and the bike path. The peds, this sidewalk ends right here. There's really no sidewalk as you connect. This is a very steep, it's got guardrail here, and it's very steep down. Making an actual ped connection or any type of connection here isn't an option. We just get too close to the ordinary high water, which is a no-no on this project. And the other one is just the grade difference is the greatest right here. It actually comes down to about level over here. Definitely open. This was just thrown in there right now. It's got retaining walls on both sides to lower the impact to the city property and take away any property impacts to McDonald's. As far as the staircase goes, we have that shown in there. I don't know if it's going to fly with ODOT yet. It's there right away. But we do have that it was another goat path that we saw, and we're showing stairs right now. Now, one of the things we've looked at is accessibility for ADA. Obviously stairs here and here don't provide that, but this ramp with moving across the sidewalk, and we could look at options of putting like a crosswalk here, something for safe passage until they get onto the path. So there will be a mode of transportation for handicapped as well. But again, this is just a general concept.
one question I have is on the width of the sidewalk, the combination of sidewalk and bike path. Right now, you have it as 7 and 7. I do like it to be, I like the separation, but right now when I come across the Clackamas River Bridge, how wide is the sidewalk?
It's 5 feet.
5
so
feet.
right now through
Okay,
here.
and so that's for bikes and pedestrians right now is 5 feet.
Yes.
Uh,
In that area, you're going to go to 5 and 5. Just so this area right here between the two bridges will stay at 5 and it'll be a 5 and 5. It'll be narrowed down by 2 feet because of slope impact. As soon as we go out another couple feet, plus the tapers back in, it's just a narrower. By the time we develop our tapers out and then back into the bridge, it's 7 feet, 14 feet is too wide.
Through the rest of the area, do we have this type of capacity going through McLaughlin Project Enhancement Project 1 for bike and ped?
Yes, we've got a minimum 10 foot, but most of the places is a 12-foot multi-use path that goes through the corridor there on the riverside.
On the riverside.
Yep.
It just seems like it's more than we need, but because it's inconsistent with what we have coming across the Clackamas River Bridge. But
On that
Bridge is
point,
way too narrow.
on that
Bikes
point,
and pedestrians.
if it's to replace the bike lane on the street, it has to be a sufficient width. So essentially, what we've done, what looks like a really wide sidewalk or bike pedestrian area, we're proposing moving the bike lane from the street to be adjacent to the sidewalk. So it's sort of moving puzzle pieces around, but keeping the overall width the same. But if we were to put it on this, if we weren't to have that width, we'd have to add the bike lane back to the street. So we'd sort of offset any gains that we made. So that's.
Okay, I want to make sure that Mike, who's making notes, do you have some questions or comments?
I think it's pretty good. It's pretty good stuff so far. Pretty early too in this planning.
Okay. Going around again, any other comments or questions? Paul, do you have anything left? Okay.
I guess one thing that's, you keep talking about stairs. There's a lot of space that's parallel to the road, and the and living on a marina for a lot of years, long ramps are fairly accessible for with switchbacks are often used, and maybe
Down
borrowing-
here or up at the road?
right there, look to the left, working your way down there, having the working with a gangway type of a deal would be nice. Well, probably the skateboarders would like it a lot, but I just thought about that. That's right by the park.
Put speed bumps.
That was what we were actually BMX people is what we were worried about. So whatever we're putting there's going to have to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was.
So that element's open for discussion. We've got the PSU. A civil engineer like myself threw that in there with no creative concept really. So it's open.
I was going to suggest one of those stairs with the little divot on the side for the bike, like they have at Eagle Creek. Mm-hmm. That works pretty good, but of course that doesn't accommodate the ADA folks, so that might not be enough.
Aggregate. Good aggregate. That'll keep the
That's actually
skateboarders
what
off.
Joe Merrick with the county recommended is a bike. He wants to see an aggregate bike, more for a mountain biker that come down here. And, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, we have a couple more minutes. I see lots of people here who are interested. Do any of you have any comments or questions? Could you identify who you are, please?
When we first saw this design, there was a roundabout down there. I'm not seeing it in any of this. Is that?
You want to respond?
The roundabout is gone. It's dead. What?
People have spoken. I believe that was part of the prospectus.
We didn't tell you up front because we wanted you the whole time.
Yeah. Otherwise, there would have been this mass exodus. But no, I think wasn't the original. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when the prospectus was put together, there's all
Part of the
sorts of things
funding.
that go in a prospectus, but when you come back and start looking at it, does it really make sense? And there was a lot of feedback from the community and others that it just didn't seem to make sense, wasn't workable, and we weren't married to it, so out it went.
Yes, he had a go-kart.
Sure.
Also, that piece just south of McDonald's, we were also told that that was a water. John, can you help me with what that was called? water quality
Oh.
area.
So they
But-
moved it across the road.
Yeah, so is this now being taken as a developable piece of property if you move that across?
So one of our reasons for doing that was to minimize the impacts over to that area so that it could possibly be developed in the future. A lot of the water, the other reason for that is a lot of the water that we're capturing in this swale comes out of this area. So as part of the stormwater retrofit program that ODOT's funding, it's closing off all of these inlets, and all that water is going to run down this swale here and then out the outfall it currently goes. We will look at, it doesn't mean there won't be anything done there in that right of way that could be planted. It is a natural waterway, it's a low spot, and then all the water goes across the culvert there and then into an inlet right there. That will continue to be, after this project, what it's going to look like, I'm not sure yet.
And I think you'll see with the students' design, they'll take elements like stormwater, functional elements like that, and create something unique with them. You've seen probably stormwater facilities that have been made into more architectural elements that actually activate.
Well, actually, what my concern was that we were kind of giving the impression that
This can stand next to
okay,
people.
that piece could not be developed because it had to be used as a bioswale. So if you're moving things over, I'm hoping that that will be a developable piece of property.
Yeah. I don't know if it can be, but not because of our project won't preclude that.
After this project, it would continue to be city right-of-way, public right-of-way. So whether it would be vacated in the future, I guess that is a possibility, but at the end of the project, it would continue to be public right-of-way.
There was talk about taking the driveway away from McDonald's.
This time it's staying there.
Perfect.
That was another reason for moving the swale across the road was with that big hump, so to speak, it doesn't really make for good water passage.
Okay. I want to wrap this up because I know some of you have a 7 o'clock meeting and probably want a little break before that. But a couple things just to take away with you. When we were talking about the PSU design competition, we're talking about having an open house type of thing on the 29th of January where the public can come and look at the different designs and comment and kind of vote for their favorites. So there'll be information that gets sent out about that. Will be presented. The students will actually present their designs as part of the responsibility for this competition. Our next meeting, as I mentioned, is the 4th of February, and we're going to have a summary of what happened with the design competition, then also a further discussion of the elements. We'll by then hopefully know what the roadway profile looks like, and we can start really talking about the kinds of features and elements that you want to see included in the process and in the project. And thirdly, we'll be posting the materials from this meeting on the website in the next couple of days, so those of you who didn't have a chance to get them, because we didn't want to inundate people with paper, we'll get them up on the website, and you can have copies of the PowerPoint and so forth. Okay? And with that, thank you very much for your thoughtful consideration tonight, and we'll see you in February.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You mentioned it. Paul's going to get me out of here. So I may not be here next time.
Yeah.